So it starts off with just one sentence in it is, his biggest mistake was crossing the US-Mexico border illegally. His second was pleading guilty to indecent behavior with a juvenile. Javier deeply regrets both.
And you heard correctly. He snuck into the country illegally and then did the unimaginable. And now he sits in front of the parole board and says, "No, no, 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 no. I'm innocent of doing that crime. I pled guilty because I was coerced by my attorney. I shouldn't have pled guilty, but I did. I'm actually innocent." Now he spins a tale that is really hard to believe about a man who he owed money to, and that's why he made his daughter accuse him of. The whole thing is really nuts. But the parole board, they actually listen to him talk, and they take an executive session. This is a very interesting case, and I imagine that some of you might believe him. Now, I'll unpack it with the details of the crime at the end. So, with that, let's jump in.
I'm going to say your name, but it may not be right. RIBON?
Yes, RIBON.
RIBON, okay. Would you tell us what your DOC number is?
It's 792-625.
Okay, thank you, sir. We appreciate that. For what you're here because you have requested a parole hearing. You want to be out early from the charge or from the sentence that you currently have. And so what we're going to do is we're going to give you an opportunity to tell us why you're there, what you've done since you've been there, and why you feel like you should be released on parole. Then we're going to ask the lieutenant to tell us about your demeanor and attitude and disciplinary record while you're there. And then we're going to go into we have a number of supporters that are going to be on Zoom. We have one person here that's going to speak, Mr. Jonathan Pirot. He's here at headquarters. He's going to speak. And then we've got some that will be listening on Zoom. Two of them will speak. Then we'll go into the opposition. And at this point, we don't have anybody that's going to speak in opposition. Then we're going to turn it over to Ms. Stapleton, who has this hearing. She's going to ask you some questions, and we'll make a vote. Pretty simple. It takes longer to explain it than it does actually the procedure. So anyway, this is your day. This is your request. So we're going to give you a chance to tell us why you feel like you're worthy of getting out, why you're there.
Okay. Well, first, good morning, members of the parole board. My name is Javier Ribon. I'm 39 years old, and I really appreciate the opportunity to appear before you today to request parole. I take responsibility for the circumstances that put me in this chair today. I was accused of indecent behavior, and I apologize to the victim in this case, if there is any. I have served more than 2.5 years already in prison with no write-ups, no fights, no drugs. I'm a man of deep faith. My father left my mother before I was born, and because of our deep poverty, I had to work hard almost all my childhood. But I wanted to give better opportunities to my siblings and a better life to my mother and grandparents. So I came to the United States trying to pursue those dreams by working hard almost every day from 7 a.m. to sunset and resting on Saturdays. So I could attend to church where I was a very active member and elder for many years. So I can say that I always wanted to do is provide for my family, improve myself, and help others. In prison, I have had no access to any programs yet, classes or services that will help me to improve, or at least not in my current facility yet. But I'm anxious to show you also to show my family, my friends, and the world that I can confidently, with God's help, fulfill the requirements of my parole if it's granted to me. I will not commit any crimes. I'm a very responsible and reliable person. I have a plan. I also have a strong support from my family, my friends, and community. I have also offers of employment, and I have also a place to stay. And also, of course, I have my wife and a loving family that need me and support me. And I love them and need them too. In fact, I should mention that two of my stepchildren still need my help and financial support. And for that, my wife, who is on the screen right now, she has been working too many hours, driving from 7 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. and sometimes to 11 p.m. And just taking a little break around 2 to come home to eat and take care of the house and then go back to work. And I'm asking just for the opportunity to pick up the remainings of my family's life so I can put them together, because I still got the dream of being there for them and to succeed in life, and also to provide for my mother and my grandmother, who both are widows at this point. If all of this requires my deportation, I also make the commitment of never coming back to the United States. And I even though my wife and children, they're American citizens, I will in fact bring them with me if necessary. But if I'm allowed to stay, I will use this bitter experience I'm having in prison to teach and encourage others to respect the law and to respect others, so they don't have to come to prison and learn it the hard way. I really appreciate this opportunity. Thank you for your time, and God bless you. God bless your families.
Okay. We'll move into folks. Let's talk to the Lieutenant first. Lieutenant, do you have anything to tell us about?
Lieutenant, she left.
He left, huh? Well, we'll give her that's okay. We'll give her an opportunity in a few minutes. Let's move on to the supporters. Let's talk to your stepdaughter.
Yes.
Who I don't have a name here. She's with your wife. Would she talk to us first and introduce yourself?
Good morning. My name is, can you guys hear me? My name is Adelina Villatoro. I am the stepdaughter of Javier RIBON Bautista. And this morning, my mom wanted to speak on his behalf, but I asked for the opportunity to speak for our family. I am here today to speak about the man that my dad is. From the moment Javier came into my life, I learned the true definition of hope. He never tried to replace my biological father, or who is not present in my life currently, but instead he came with love, compassion, humility, and he not only showed up with words, but through consistent actions. He has been present in my life for about 10 to 11 years. And he came in as a person who would change my life and my family's life for the better. And he's a godly man, and I am a witness of his, whenever he served at church. He was the one who actually introduced us to Christianity. And through him, we were able to learn what love is, kindness is, and patience. And although we are not related by blood, Javier has been the father figure that I've never had in my life. And by that, he has truly earned that title in my life. He has been a provider for me since day one, and my family needs him now more than ever. And today, I truly hope that you can see the man that I've had the privilege to have met, and the loving father that he has been for me and for my brother as well. My mom wanted to share a message, and she says that if Javier is released, he has a stable home with us and a job waiting for him, I have stood by his side, and I need him back with our family so we can continue raising our children together and remain the strong, united family we have built together. Thank you.
Okay. All right, we appreciate any comments about that? And where you say you got a home, where was that home going to be?
Yes, I had to move to, I'm sorry, my name is Sully Rimon. I'm Javier's wife. And because of my health, I had to move to Texas. I live in Houston, Texas now, and we have a home where if he's able to be released, he's gonna come with us and live with us.
If he's got a deportation order, if
Yes.
he's here illegally, how do you think he's gonna live in Texas?
Yes, I understand. I know if he's going to be deported, like he said, because I love Javier. I've always been by his side, and we're willing to move and have a family in Mexico because we want our family together. You know, I want to raise my kids with him. He's been a supporter from, my kids, my daughter, she was 5 when he met her, and I have never complained. He has always helped me, and I'm nervous. That's why I'm stuttering. Forgive me.
We appreciate the word. I just had to ask that question. Okay, we'll move on now. Thank you for everything y'all have said. Take that into consideration. We'll move on now to the pastor, Patricia Costa. Is that saying that right? The Reverend Costa?
Hello, I am Patty Costa. My husband is Javier Ribon's pastor, and I am here representing my husband this morning. He had another commitment prior to this meeting, but I would like to say that during the last 3 years, Javier has been an outstanding member of our congregation. And not only have we ministered to him during the time he was present in our church, but during the time he was incarcerated, we exchanged letters on a monthly or bi-monthly.
Okay, we lost you, I believe. Okay, we'll try to get back in touch with her. Okay. All right, well, we'll move on then for now. And
You're gonna ask the.
Mr. Parole, Jonathan Parole.
Yes.
Am I saying that
Yeah,
right?
Parole, yeah.
Yes, sir. Would you approach the podium and introduce yourself and tell us what you know?
Thank you very much for the opportunity to address you today.
Yes, sir.
My name is Jonathan Parole. I used to work at the Times-Picayune. I live in Metairie now, and I've known Javier for a long time, more than 10 years, probably closer to 15 years. I met him through a roofer that I know, and Javier is in the roofing business and has worked for many roofers across the Gulf South. I just want to make sure you got the packages I put together. There's about 30 letters that people, okay.
Yes, sir. We've got them all.
Okay, great. And Javier and I have worked together for a long time. I own property in New Orleans. He and I have been up on roofs together. I trust this man with my life. So I'm here on his behalf, and I'm also here on behalf of a large community of people who know and love this man. And we're hoping that he will grant parole. In helping him, I met people from all over the country who know him through church and through work, and all of them have nothing but incredibly good things to say about him. Now, I realize that this isn't really the purpose of the parole hearing. I understand that he pleaded guilty to a serious crime. It's a little complicated. I know you see there's no opposition here today. Really, there's a reason for that. And I put a lot of effort into trying to help this guy, and I don't step out for just anyone. So this is really important to me. I'm just his friend. But there's a lot of people in New Orleans right now watching on Zoom, a lot of people who couldn't make it up here. I had 3 or 4 people who were gonna come, one's in the hospital, and so that kind of thing. Sully, his wife, remains very devoted to him more than anyone. And she needs his support. He's a very supportive, very hardworking, very moral, very honest man. And he has been swept up in the justice system and swept under the rug, and he hasn't had a voice. And that's why I'm so passionate about being here. So that package I sent you has a lot of letters. It has people offering him jobs and offering him housing. And I know that's part of what you're looking for. I know you're looking for deep remorse and a lot of classes. I've watched a lot of your YouTube videos from parole hearings. I understand that he hasn't had the opportunity to do the classes, and I know he would have. I talk to him almost every day on the phone. So I think he's in a tight situation, and I think that even though it's not completely up your alley, I think you're in a position to help him. And I think his community is in a huge position to help him. If you do grant him parole, I think they're behind him 100%. I know he's probably gonna get deported, but they're still behind him 100%. And it's just a life that I feel is important to try to help. He's a first-time offender. He has no write-ups. He doesn't get in fights. He doesn't do drugs. He's very religious. He's been trying to get moved into a faith-based dormitory, but instead he's been sleeping on the floor and suffering. But anyway, there was another guy who was gonna come today. His name is Leroy McIntyre Jr. He's a Mississippi businessman. He has 2 paragraphs he just asked me to read, and I think they sum up a little bit of what all those letters.
Okay, if you'll conclude with those.
Okay, yeah, I'll conclude with this. I'm sorry. He says, "My name is Leroy McIntyre Jr. I regret I'm unable to attend today, but I don't want this hearing to pass without voicing my full support of parole for Javier. I've known him for more than 20 years. He's worked for me on and off as a roofer during that time, always dependable, always honest, never once had an issue with him. He's not just a good worker, he's a good man. His faith, his work ethic, and his character have always stood out. If released, I'm committed to helping him transition back through job opportunities and personal support. I don't believe Javier poses any risk to society. On the contrary, I believe his release would benefit his family, his children, and community." So those are the themes that are echoed in those letters. Please take those into consideration.
Okay.
Javier is a good man, and we're just
Yes, sir.
hoping that you grant him parole today. Thank you.
We'll do that. Thank you for your words.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Lieutenant, I see you've gotten back into the room. Would you tell us, do you know anything that will help us as far as his disciplines, work ethic, attitude, behavior, anything you can help us with?
No, sir, he's been fine here. We've not had any issues.
Okay.
I wanted to ask, he says that he has not been able to get any of the classes he needs. Is that true? And then,
I was just informed this morning by our DOC lady, Miss Stevenson, that they were told that they cannot be put in any classes.
why is that?
I do not know, ma'am. That's by DOC. You'll have to get with Miss Stevenson on that. She can probably explain that better than I can. I just do the Zoom court, ma'am.
All right, I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Well, sir, your case has been assigned to Miss Stapleton, and your case has been assigned to Miss Stapleton, and she's gonna ask some questions. And Mr. Tillis and I will follow up with any questions we might have, and then we'll vote and decide what your outcome is gonna be today.
Okay, well, you do have a great amount of support, and you pronounce your last name Bautista?
RIBON BAUTISTA.
Oh, well, how about if I just call you Javier? Is it
That's
Sorry.
good.
Javier? Okay, and so I've read the packet, but it starts off with, I'm I'm gonna talk about the victim, okay? And the crime. So it starts off with you, just one sentence in it is, his biggest mistake was crossing the US-Mexico border illegally. His second was pleading guilty to indecent behavior with a juvenile. Javier deeply regrets both. Okay, so now what I have here is that the indecent behavior with a juvenile was a plea bargain for molestation of the juvenile. And this all took place, and it's actually another word for it is child sexual abuse between her ages of 8 and 11, where you were renting a room with her father, who was your best friend, and all of this took place. You want to tell me what happened?
Yes, basically, yes, I was renting a place from this person. I don't know if all this will matter, but we have a history in our families that goes back from Mexico. I've been knowing this family for many, many years. And this person, the father who first called the police on me, he owed me some money. I used to do good back then, and I wasn't married yet. And he asked me for money, and he knew that I was in and out from the state because I used to work in Mississippi, Alabama, or Florida, doing roofing jobs. And at some point, he borrowed me money, and I, about 2 months passed. I didn't receive my money, but I told to him, and he offered me a room because he knew I was looking for one. And he was living there by himself. He has nobody living in there. And they one day that it was on a Monday that I used to leave for work. Then I knew that they accused me of something, and I wasn't there to say anything. In fact, they make it look like I fled the place, but I just was out of the state, and I got many witnesses that I used to work like that all the time. And basically, all that they was put together, and when the time came, whenever I was bring to prison, that happened in 2014, according to the paperwork. And when I was trying to fly to Mexico to visit my family, then I was arrested, and that's when they notified me that I had that problem. I didn't know I had that problem. But at the end, I pleaded guilty because they pressured me. I rejected the plea not one but many times, and they just keep pushing me, and I pleaded guilty because of pressure, and also because they used my family to put pressure on me. I just couldn't stand watching my wife crying in front of me, and they dragged me like that. So that's why I pleaded guilty to something that I didn't commit, and that's why I'm here. And I I spent all my money in lawyers that don't wanted to help me, and the part that hurt me most it is that I'm sorry. I watch so many people with many more charges being defended by the same lawyers I had that did nothing for me. And these people within 2 months, they got their problems solved, they got out, and for me they didn't even try to clarify what happened. And I'm sorry, I cannot this anymore. I cannot i cannot know anymore about the struggles my wife is having all this time, but trying to get the family together. And that's why the letter is right. I regret of pleading guilty of something I didn't commit. They treat me like I was guilty no matter what. I had no chance. I can say many things about the case, but how I can defend myself about something I didn't commit.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I see where, you know, that it was 2014 and, she was brought to the Child Advocacy Center. And, all of this was disclosed. The Child Advocacy Center, they talk to children and they're experts in interviewing for, sexual abuse and just different things like that. They're social workers. And so that was the right place to do that with a child. And
Yes.
she did say that these things happened between the ages of 8 and 11, and you're saying she lied.
Yes, even the father testified. The father says, and there is on paper, he doesn't believe that occurred, and there are facts, man. At first, this family they wanted me to stay away from them because that way they will keep my money, and that way they don't want it to. I mean, that way they don't have to pay me. Um, but not just that, they closed a case, as I remember in the records. They closed a case, but they came 5 years later accusing me of something worse, terrible, and the medical record shows that that never happened. And I see a lot of things that I was accused of that the medical records prove otherwise. And that's why I've been saying this, but I don't know why my lawyers never tried to prove this. Why, if they had the medical records and all that, they never, then they don't even try to use it to try to defend me or something.
Yes, sir. Okay. Well, I understand now that you would have taken the programs if you could have taken the programs.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's beyond your ability to control. Normally from the DA's office, the ADA, Mr. Randall Myers appears and he speaks for the DA's office. And you have complete opposition with the judge and the sheriff and the AG and the Kenner police. But the DA's office sent his letter, which is their position on what happened. So I'm gonna read it. It's 3 paragraphs, so you'll hear what Mr. Meyer would have said had he been here, okay?
Okay.
The facts and circumstances which led to the conviction of the above referenced inmate have been reviewed by my office for the July 24th, 2025 meeting on the committee of parole, and that's you, Mr. Javier Bautista. We are strongly opposed to the early release of Mr. Bautista. He is a 39-year-old first felony offender who pled guilty to indecent behavior with a juvenile and was sentenced to 7 years at hard labor. The facts show Mr. Bautista kissed and fondled the 11-year-old daughter of his friend with whom he lived. The girl reported the incident to her mother, which resulted in an investigation. There is an allegation Mr. Bautista raped the girl when she was 8 years old. In the instant offense, Mr. Bautista kissed and fondled the victim. He was 39 years old at the time of the offense. Mr. Bautista pled guilty to indecent behavior with the juvenile and was sentenced in 2024 to 7 years. Now this goes to where you haven't been able. Mr. Bautista has very limited programming. He has not taken pre-release substance abuse education or sex offender programs. His static 99 shows he is a sex offender moderate risk. There is outstanding immigration detainer for Mr. Bautista. Further, the victim struggles with opposition, but definitely wants him to have no contact with her. According to his request, the parole should be denied. So the victim, she talks about that her innocence was taken away and it made it extremely difficult for her to have a safe and calm childhood. because of what happened. And she does go on to say, I would also like a no contact restriction or restraining order should you be released. But of course, with the detainer, if you're sent back to Mexico, that would be the case. You can speak as you want to speak.
Yes, ma'am. If they bring in all that, so do you have access to the medical records there on paper that prove otherwise that they are lying? Because they taking statements from people that are supposed to be professionals in their fields, and the same people that took all these arguments and approve them, they're the same people that have the proofs that this person was still a virgin at the age they say.
Well, you wasn't charged with rape, remember? They went back to the fondling, and so you were charged with that. You were not charged with aggravated rape.
Yes, but why will they try to accuse me of something worse?
Well, they didn't charge you for it, but we're not gonna retry the case.
Yes.
We're just here for, you know, what we have, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
So you heard what law enforcement has to say, you heard what the victim says. And so, and you've heard, you have extreme law enforcement opposition. So that's all my questions today.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, do you have any questions?
Yeah, how long did you live with this man?
For less than a month. Less than a month.
You lived with him less than a month?
Not with them, with him. He
With
had
him?
nobody living in the house. This family was separate. Like this man and his wife, they split out, they divorced. There was nobody living in the house. It was just himself. In fact, the house could not have more people. It had barely 2 small rooms. Sadly, those years, the lawyers didn't even try to investigate, and there are many things that are not true in those statements.
Okay, you lived with him less than a month.
Yes.
And I see where they said this was going on between the girl's age of 8 and 11.
Yeah, according to the documents I read, is about 11. Yes.
Well, they said between 8 and 11, 8 years old and 11. So how long did you know the young lady?
I don't. Well, can I at least know the name, because I remember is 3. They had 3 children. All they did is refer to the accuser as J. Falcon, but I don't know which one is. I don't even know the name.
So what I'm asking is, it stated that this was going on between her age of 8 and 11. So how long did you know her, or how long did you know the name? If you only lived with this guy 1 month.
Yes. I've been knowing the family for, let's say, probably 30 years.
30 years?
Yes.
So you know the little girl for a long time, the family?
No, I never got in touch with them until I got to live in New Orleans, and that was probably like 4 years before that date of 2014. I moved to New Orleans to work.
Okay, so the other thing I wanted to ask you was, who pressured you into confessing?
The lawyer and also the judge. I rejected the offer. I wanted to go to trial, and they just kept pushing me. They kept pushing me. They didn't. I don't wanted to play guilty. I wanted to go to trial, and they just kept pushing me. And they put pressure on my wife.
Your attorney pressured you into doing that?
Yes, of course, all that will not be, they don't do it in open court, but the part that the judge himself, when I rejected the plea, he said that in public and tried to break me, and he said that if I didn't plead guilty, they will give me a max, and they will give me from 25 to 99. He will make sure I get the 99.
Okay. Let me ask his wife a question.
Yes.
Did they pressure your husband, in your opinion?
Yes, I was gonna ask for a word to speak on that day because I was the one paying the lawyer. And to be honest, that day prior, the day before, the lawyer talked to Javier in jail to ask if he was gonna plead guilty. And Javier told the lawyer no. He even told me, Javier told me, no, I'm not gonna plead guilty. I wanna go to trial, you know? And the day of the court date, Javier called me early in the morning while I was on my way to court. And I asked him again, I said, what are you going to do? And he said, I'm not pleading guilty. So I said, okay, I'm gonna support you through everything. When I got to court, the attorney took me outside of the courtroom and he asked me, what's gonna happen, right? What did Javier told me? And I said, Javier is not gonna plead guilty. And he said, okay. When it was Javier's turn to see the judge, and he asked if he accepted the plea deal, the attorney told the judge he didn't accept the plea deal, okay? And this is what happened. I was there, and the attorney told the judge for the judge to speak with Javier. So the judge said, okay, sit down and I'll talk, I will see the other cases, and then I'll come back to you again. So the attorney took me back of the courtroom and told me, he said, do you understand if he's found guilty, he's gonna face 50, 60 years. That's the maximum, the judge is gonna give him. So when he told me that, I start crying, my feelings are, like, I don't want to see my husband 50, 60 years in jail,
Okay, that's good. That's good. Thank you.
Okay. We have a request for an executive session.
I second.
It's a motion and a second for executive session, and I concur. So that'll take care of the vote. Yes.
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 Okay, we'll be in a brief executive session. And all right, the time is 9:46 in the morning. Could I have a motion to come back into regular session from executive session?
I'll make the motion.
Got a motion?
Second.
Got a motion and a second, and I concur. Therefore, we don't need to vote, I don't think, because we all took part in it. So we're back into regular session right now. It's 9:46 in the morning. And I think we've had all the questions answered. Can you hear okay? I see you doing your ear.
I have hearing issues.
Do you have your earphones?
Yes, I'm connected.
Okay. Take your time. You need to hear this.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Your case has been Ms. Stapleton assigned to her, so she's the first to vote.
Okay, Mr. Bautista, I'm gonna vote to deny your parole based upon the information that I've received from law enforcement DA. You have extreme law enforcement opposition from the judge, the sheriff, the AG's office, the Kenner Police, and the DA, as you know, based upon the victim statements. So that's gonna be my vote.
Okay.
My vote's a grant.
Okay. We have one grant and one deny. And of course, you have to have unanimous in order to get it. So you did not get your parole today. So at the time is 9:47 in the morning. And I also, just for the record, because you need to know, I also don't think that you've done enough time on what you pled guilty to. And please understand, our job is not to retry the case or determine if you were pressured. That's up to the district court and the appellate courts and eventually the Supreme Court. Our job is to deal with what you pled to. And you pled to a very serious crime just roughly 2 years ago or a year and something ago, and you got 7-year sentence. And I don't think you've done enough of what you pled to. So your case, your parole has been denied. I'm sorry to say, and I wish you luck. And we will try to get you somewhere that possibly some courses be offered where you can start taking some courses. At 9:48 this morning, your parole has been denied.
Okay, and they denied, and I even wonder what they were discussing in the executive session. Maybe they were thinking, look, I mean, we can parole him to ICE. I think that's probably what they were talking about. And they're like, hey, he won't be on our P&L sheet, right? Or come in our tax dollar expense. Let's just parole him to ICE. But they, Louisiana, to their credit, they like to see criminals, especially Ch0m0s, stay inside their DOC, unlike what we've seen in Connecticut. I don't want to go on a tangent, but in Connecticut, they actually, and this is not an exaggeration, now YouTube has hidden these hearings that I have, but they actually would protect Ch0m0s from ICE. They would even state it in the parole hearings. They would say, we don't want you to get deported, and this is what we're going to do to help protect you. I'm not exaggerating at all when I say that. That's actually happened. But let's not go off on a tangent. Here, in this case, I will go over information. It is a strange case. It is bizarre. Had he fought it in court, and not pled guilty, I imagine he would have gone away with it. They're not taking this type of. It would be so hard to take. Like you could have the argument that whatever his attorney said was just straight up stupid. And you'll see why. The idea of this case is that there's just I mean, unless she would have taken the stand, and then it would have just come down to a jury believing her or not. So that's where it would. But you'll see through the information that it's hard to, here's the bottom line. I guess neither here nor there. Here's the bottom line. You don't plead to something if you didn't do it. And you just don't. No man or woman would ever plead to that kind of crime, even if it meant that they would get no prison time, even if the judge said you won't get any prison time, but you just don't. and there was no, and in this case, he had so much to lose. He had deportation he could have had. I mean, it was a different administration back then, so maybe he wasn't so afraid of it. But I mean, there's still repercussions, and it's like he didn't but who cares even if there were no repercussions? You don't admit to something you didn't do. Not, it's like, I just don't believe you because of that. I don't. And there was a time, I don't know if you guys remember this. This was a few years ago. There was a similar situation. Someone who was here in the country legally, but very well spoken, like this man. I mean, this man speaks English better than most of the native Louisianians that we cover here, right? He was well dressed, also with a church, very put together, and he gave a story too how he was wrongfully. And I believed him. I said, I believe him. I said, I'm going to take a leap and believe him. And this was before Sir Richard and Lady Holly were doing research for me. And then I think it was Sir Richard who emailed me and he said, you got this wrong. And I'm like, and he sent me this article that showed that he had confessed to his priest. And I don't know how the confession got out, but that ended up, and I was like, oh my God, I was wrong. And once I was wrong, and I actually came out with the YouTube, and I said I was wrong, and I came up with I published it. I said I was wrong. I mean, I had to say I was wrong, because I was sitting here defending Ch0m0, and I'm not going to ever do that again. My take is always going to be, if you pled guilty to it, then you did it. This wasn't that he went to trial and he's still saying I'm in it. No, he pled guilty. Let me read this to you. Now, he was caught boarding a flight in 2022 trying to escape, which, I'm not going to say that means he's guilty, because hey, look, I mean, if you felt that you were going to get arrested for something, it's so a fugitive wanted in connection with the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office, and oh, right, Randall Meyer. He is at every single one of his parole hearings. I'm sure he had a very good excuse not to be here, and he wrote a letter addressing it, and I could even hear his voice as Miss Stapleton was reading the letter. But I still would have loved to have seen him here and address it. That would have cleared so much, right? Which is such a shame because he's at every hearing. So, arrested at Louis Armstrong New Orleans International Airport before he boarded a flight, according to authorities. Javier Ribon Bautista was booked December 23rd with 2 counts of molestation of juvenile under the age of 13. The warrant stems from an 8-year-old case, and that's, again, where it becomes pretty crazy. It was an 8-year-old case. According to the Rivardi, Ribon accused of kissing and fondling an 11-year-old girl on 2 occasions at a residence in 2014. Ribon was a friend of the family's. The girl told her father what happened, and he immediately contacted the sheriff's office. Detectives opened an investigation, but the case was suspended in 2015. So again, think about this as the facts. In 2014, it happened. They suspended in 2015 because the victim failed to show up to multiple interviews. Now, you might say, you know, why did they fail to show? This is interesting. But the case reopened in 2019. So 4 years later, it reopens when the victim and her parents got back in touch with investigators, revealing additional allegations. Detectives obtained a warrant for Ribon's arrest in 2020, but they cannot find him. But on December 23rd, authorities learned that he was scheduled to fly out of New Orleans Airport. It's not clear where he was headed, but he was traveling internationally. Sheriff's Office deputies, agent, U.S. Customs Border Protection took him to custody at 9:30 a.m. He was booked in Jefferson Parish Correction Center. So when you have those facts, the thing is, his story about, oh, the man owed me money, it's so impossible to believe it. What? So this man owes you money. So it's so bad. You're living with him. You're sleeping on his couch. Like, the whole story is so ridiculous. He, I'm guessing, wasn't married to his current wife at this time. Because why was he sleeping at this guy's couch? I don't know. So what he is saying, what he wants you to believe, what he wants us to believe, is that the man owed him money. So it's so bad that he manipulates his daughter, puts her through the trauma of going to the police. Then a bunch of years later, decides to do it again. All because he owed him money. It's just impossible to believe. I mean, there are so many things that you would do before you do that. If someone, because you wanted him to, because you don't want to pay a debt. It's just impossible. I don't buy it. Then he goes, he has his appeal. Now he does appeal. This was just decided July 2nd, 2025. It was only decided a couple weeks before this hearing, which is pretty wild. This hearing happened July 24th. So it's just a couple weeks before this hearing it's decided, and it goes to the procedural history. On February 16, 2023, Jefferson Parish District Attorney filed a bill of information charging the defendant with molestation juvenile under 13 on or between November 23rd, 2014. He pled not guilty in the arraignment. On August 21st, 2014, the amended charge of indecent behavior to juvenile, the defendant pled guilty to the amended charge. It's a plea deal. And the trial judge sentenced him to 7 years of hard labor on September 18, 2024. I mean, he was just sentenced. And then the defendant's like, whoa, I want to withdraw my guilty plea. I don't like the thing. And they go into the facts. the alleges between November was having a position of control or supervision over the juvenile. And being much more than 2 years older. I mean, the juvenile would have been 11 years old. Yeah, 11 years old. Being more than 2 years old, the juvenile did commit a lewd and lascivious act upon a juvenile where the child was under the age of 13. Because of the plea, the record does not contain all the facts, but it appears that the record in 2014, the 11-year-old victim lived with their father and the defendant, who was her father's friend. During the time while in the living room of the residence, the defendant kissed the victim on occasion and on another put his hands on the shirt and grabbed her under her shirt. 2014 law enforcement received a report of these incidents, but the delay in prosecution is not clear from the record. But we went through why there was a delay. Plea involuntary. The state responds the defendant entered a constitutionally sound guilty plea. Defendant failed to request relief. Voluntary entered a plea. And it's just, he basically is stating that he was pressured even by his own family. He was coerced by his family and attorney to take the plea. This is his first reason for the appeal. Neither the plea, which is what they claim today, right? But neither the plea nor the colloquy informed the elements of the offense. The court did not inquire his educational level. Whoa. I mean, the trial court failed to ascertain there was a factual basis for the plea. Neither the plea nor the argument if the defendant raised the appeal present judicial force to take the plea. However, the courts have not conclusively determined whether the new ground for objection. I mean, he lost the appeal. There's nothing else in there. He tries to give up examples of other similar situations where they won the appeal. Now, I mean, it's so simple again. Now, you could say he got bad legal advice. I think that if I'm the attorney, I'd ask him, are you innocent? Right? I think that's what you do. The guy says, I'm innocent. He says, okay, well, then this is what we'll do. We'll say we're going to take it to trial. You're going to go through the whole process. We've seen this play out in other courts where you even if you're guilty, you still take it to trial because it's calling the prosecution's bluff, and so many things can go wrong leading up to the trial. And we have seen this. I've covered cases on Mandu Channel 2 where you will have the survivor get up and point the finger at the stepfather, and the stepfather will wait there and wait and go through 2-3 days of the trial and wait to get the survivor on the stand to go through it. And only after the survivor takes a stand will they then go to the prosecution and say, okay, I'll take a deal. And they do that because they're hoping that the survivor won't take the stand, or that they'll be unable to take the stand, or that they'll crash out on the stand. So it's so much. It clearly the smart thing to do, even if you're guilty, is to draw it out to that trial basis, because so easily the survivor just won't take the stand. And if you're innocent, of course you do it. So you could argue he got bad legal advice. I don't know, but you know, they made an emotional. Certainly, they're stupid. You know, they got an offer. They made it. It sounds like they made like, oh, his wife started crying. I can't lose you for 60 years. Like, little does she know, like, you would never get, even if you were found guilty in Louisiana, they wouldn't get sentenced that long. And but as a person, you would never plead. I don't believe he is guilty of sin. And good for the family and the survivor to make sure that they locked him up. And the wife that married him with the stepdaughter sitting there, and it's like, the second I saw stepdaughter, I said, oh my God. You know, these Ch0m0s, they always find a woman with a child. But I don't know who Kenya was in the bottom left. I really don't know who that was. I don't think she said anything. They weren't announced. But anyways, that's my opinion, okay, on this. That's my opinion on this case. I'd love to hear yours. And with that, I'll let you go.